Blessings, everyone. This is Father Vito, if you can recognize me, with a longer white beard. And here we are in the rectory of the church, the house where I live, where my office is. That's downstairs. And here on the second floor, we have a small room that a couple of years ago I turned into a chapel. And I would like you to visit this chapel today virtually with me. I asked our bishop if I could host the Blessed Sacrament, keep the Blessed Sacrament in here in the rectory, in the house. We need permission for that. And with that permission, I proceeded in creating this small prayer space. So it's a chapel dedicated to St. Michael. St. Michael is the patron of our archdiocese. Our cathedral is named after him. And one of the earliest hospitals in Toronto, St. Mike, is also named after the saint. Here at the door of the chapel, I have an icon of St. Michael, and on the other side, the prayer to St. Michael that we say every day after Mass, and that I say whenever I enter in this chapel. So now if you come with me, I will introduce you to the chapel. Welcome. We are inside the chapel now, and I put this chapel together with a number of items that I had. And you can see right now the tabernacle with the lamp lit, which means the Eucharist is in the tabernacle. And this was an old tabernacle that I've had for years. I forgot how I came about it, but I had a tabernacle there, and I placed that on an old table. And if you see at the foot of that table, there's an old jar that I had, very old, very ancient actually, and a book, a missal that is a couple of centuries old, that was given to me by a good friend of mine. And I keep it there simply to realize that our faith is something that has been handed down to us for many, many generations. Then on the tabernacle, well, you see the lamp lit, as I said before, and then there's a wonderful, wonderful image of the face of Christ, crowned face of Christ. Again, another gift over the years that I received. And it's there during Lent as a reminder to us of the great love that Jesus has for each one of us. And then to the right-hand side, you see a statue of St. Joseph. Now, this year is a year dedicated to St. Joseph. Pope Francis established from December the 8th of last year, Feast of the Immaculate Conception, to December the 8th of this year, again, Feast of the Immaculate Conception, to be a year dedicated to St. Joseph. As we know, St. Joseph is the foster father of Jesus. God called him to name the son, to name him Jesus. We read in the Gospel of St. Matthew. Naming means really to take responsibility for his child, Jesus. And Joseph is also the patron saint of the whole church, the universal church. He's the patron saint of Canada and of every household. So today, and this year especially, we are invoking his protection upon us. And so it's beautiful to have the statue of Joseph here. Whenever I'm in the chapel, I offer a prayer to St. Joseph on behalf of all of you. Now, this coming week, all our elementary schools at St. Patrick, including Cardinal Ambrosic, will receive a poster of St. Joseph. And I will ask the principals to place the poster somewhere visible so that the students, the staff, can also remember that we are in good hands, in the hands of Joseph, in the hands of Mary, in the hands of God. And in March, the month of March the 19th, 2 days after the feast of St. Patrick, is the feast of St. Joseph. And on March 19th, we will have special prayers, both at school, in church, offered to St. Joseph. As we move slightly from the tabernacle, we see at the windows that give into the parking lot. So if you are parking your car, or your parents are parking the car, and you look towards a house, you will see in the windows a framed stained glass window, a very beautiful one, that a very dear friend of mine, a local artist but internationally known, by the name of Sarah Hall created for me a few years ago and gave me as a wonderful gift. So it brings light, it brings color, it brings love to this very small place. Then you see an old candle holder that I've had for a while. Again, beauty comes in many fashions, in many sizes, in many colors. And everything that is beautiful is a connection with God. If you look through the window, you will see on the edge of the parking lot 14 crosses, 14 wooden crosses that we placed there during Lent. So if the church is closed, people wish to come and pray the Stations of the Cross, all they need to do is simply drive from one side to the other, just remembering the love of Jesus. The stations are not numbered, so a person maybe came from one side or the other. I've seen some people walk slowly, but if you walk, please be careful for the eyes, for the cars, and so forth. Or simply park the car and look at the statues, at the crosses rather, and say a prayer and thank God for the gift of the love of Jesus shown to us in his passion, death, and resurrection. Moving along to one of the other corners of the room, there's a wonderful painting. It is a copy of a very famous painting of the crowning of Mary, and it was painted by a good friend of mine in my hometown in southern Italy. His name is Vito. He's a very young man, very accomplished, and he sent me this image a while ago, and that's the image of Mary in our chapel. Then you look down, there's another wonderful angel that I've had, and I thought this was the perfect place where to keep it. And a little jug that sometimes I may put flowers, other times I just like it as it is. I really love jugs or trunks or any boxes, especially when they are empty, because it gives me a sign of my heart and my life. Empty, but ready to be filled. And a reminder that only God can fill it. And so those are some of the symbols that I use. They don't speak, they just inspire and allow me to continue my journey in my faith. The wall facing the tabernacle has another old, wonderful statue of St. Michael the Archangel, after whom this chapel is dedicated. And along the wall, you see wood-carved Stations of the Cross. Now, these stations were in a chapel of a convent, and then the sisters closed that convent, moving somewhere else, and they asked me if I wanted these stations. I said, of course. So after a couple of years that I had them boxed, I placed them here in this chapel. And so by looking at them, I meditate on the Passion of Jesus and celebrate the Passion of Jesus. I know that in all our schools, we have the Stations of the Cross, and many households have also images of the cross. And in the YouTube, one of the sessions was with the actual prayer with the Stations of the Cross. And now I'm back at the side of the altar where we have the tabernacle. This is the presider's chair, and I have 3 other chairs here in the chapel in the different corners. So prior to COVID, and hopefully afterwards as well, if I was celebrating small celebrations, small masses with a few individuals, this is where we would come. But also even now, I celebrate Mass here whenever I cannot go to the church. So another old, wonderful table that I'm using as an altar with a sacramentary on top of the altar. Above the presider's chair, there is another cross that I found in Rome many years ago. And so this is a prayerful place, a little chapel. And once I was able to build this chapel, I was really noticing a very great difference even in my prayer life. Because whenever I cannot go to the church, I celebrate Mass here, or many times simply come here to pray. It can be during the day and many times during the night. It's quite wonderful. especially at night when I sit here in the chapel, meditate. Through the window, I see 2, 3 o'clock, 4 o'clock in the morning, traffic. And you can see the people going to work. And prayer goes out for them as well, that they be kept safe and that their families be blessed. Now, the reason I wanted to show you the chapel today is because on the first Sunday of Lent, which was last Sunday, we have the gospel of Jesus in the desert. Jesus that went to spend time in prayer, 40 days, which shows a lifetime in a way. 40 days, number 40, very, very important. And Jesus was there in prayer, not only then, of course, but throughout the gospel, we find nights, many times, when Jesus goes up to the mountain or in a deserted place, and there he prays. And so this chapel is a reminder of that desert experience, wanting to be with God. And I wanted to show this to you because all of us can create our own little corner in prayer, whether it be in your room, whether it be a place in the house where you can be with Jesus. If you are helped, as I am, by having visual elements, that's great. Find something that reminds you of the love of Jesus and meditate on it. Some people may not need to have visible or tangible things. They can simply close their eyes and see the beauty and the presence of God. So, dear friends, this is the chapel at St. Patrick's, dedicated to St. Michael. And know that here, many, many prayers are lifted up for all of you. God bless you all.